On the morning of March 14th, 2003, a man in a pressed gray suit stood in the kitchen of Tallulah's Table in Philadelphia, holding a glass bottle with no label. The chef, a woman named Amy Alexi, was watching him. He lifted the bottle to the light. The cream line was 2 inches thick. He set it down on the stainless steel counter between them and said, "This is the last one." Amy nodded. She did not ask where it came from. She already knew. 73 miles west, in a stone dairy room in Lancaster County, a woman named Anna Hochstetler was washing the last of her glass bottles in water so hot it burned her hands. The room was empty. Every jar of milk she had made in the past 18 hours was gone. She hung the bottles upside down on wooden pegs to dry. She did not hurry. Outside, the sky was still dark. She had 40 minutes before the inspector arrived. I need to tell you how this happened. Not the ending, the beginning. Because what Anna did that night made sense only if you understood what she had been doing every week for 24 years, and why the United States Department of Agriculture had decided on March 13, 2003, that it had to stop. Anna Hochstetler was 47 years old. She had been milking cows since she was 9. Her father had milked cows. His father had milked cows. The herd she kept in 2003 was descended from the same line her grandfather had brought to Lancaster County in 1949. 12 Jerseys, small, brown, stubborn. Each one had a name. Each one produced about 4 gallons of milk per day. That is, 48 gallons total. Anna sold 42 of those gallons every week as raw milk. The other 6 gallons went to her family. She had been doing this since 1979. She had never advertised. She had never had a website. She had never put a sign on the road. Every one of her customers had been referred by another customer. Most of them drove more than an hour to reach her farm. Some drove 2. They came on Saturday mornings. They brought their own glass jars. Anna filled the jars from a stainless steel pitcher, still cold from the spring house. She did not charge by the gallon. She charged by the jar. A quart jar was $6. A half-gallon jar was $11. The price was high because Jersey milk had more butterfat than milk from larger breeds. The cream was thick enough to spread with a knife. If you could not afford it, she gave it to you anyway. She kept a notebook, a small leather book, dark brown, hung on a nail beside the window of the dairy room. She wrote down every jar she gave away. She did not write down the names. She wrote down the reasons. Child with eczema. Man recovering from surgery. Woman whose husband just lost his job. By March of 2003, that book had 43 pages of reasons. The USDA did not know about the book. They knew about the milk. They had known for 6 months. Someone had reported her. Anna never found out who. The first letter arrived in September of 2002. It was addressed to Anna Hochstetler, 1847 White Oak Road, Kinzers, Pennsylvania. The letter said that the sale of unpasteurized milk across state lines was a violation of federal law under Title 21, Section 1240.61 of the Code of Federal Regulations. It said that if she did not cease operations, the USDA would take enforcement action. Anna read the letter twice. She walked to the phone shanty. She called Samuel Lapp. Samuel was a deacon in the Gamay, the local church district, the only community that mattered to Anna. She told him about the letter. Samuel said he would speak to the bishop. 2 days later, Samuel came to her farm. He said the bishop had prayed on it. The bishop said that if the government was asking her to stop, she should consider it carefully. But the bishop also said that if she believed she was doing no harm, the decision was hers to make before God. The Gamay would not shun her either way. Anna folded the letter and put it in the drawer beneath the counter where she kept the empty jars. She did not stop selling milk. Now let me tell you something about Lancaster County in 2002, because this is where the pressure was coming from. That year, 3 industrial dairies opened within 50 miles of Anna's farm. Each one milked more than 5,000 cows. Each one sold pasteurized milk to supermarket chains across 6 states. Each one had lobbyists in Harrisburg. The Pennsylvania Dairy Association had been pushing the state legislature to tighten raw milk regulations for 5 years. They said it was about safety. But the dairies that were closing were not the large ones. They were farms, like Anna's. Small operations, 12 cows, 20 cows, 50 cows. Farms that had been selling raw milk to their neighbors for generations. The industrial dairies did not want the competition. They wanted the customers, and they wanted the land. 3 more letters came, October, November, January. Each one used different words to say the same thing. On March 12, 2003, the 5th letter arrived. This one was not a warning. It was a notice. It said that on March 14th at 6 a.m., an inspector from the USDA Region 3 office would arrive to inspect her dairy operation, seize any unpasteurized product, and seal the facility pending a compliance hearing. Anna read that letter once. She did not fold it. She walked outside and found her son. Jacob was 16. He had just come back from Rumspringa 3 months earlier. He had spent a year in Philadelphia, working in a warehouse, living in a rented room with 2 other Amish boys who had also left. He had come back. Not all of them did. When Anna found him, he was in the barn, repairing a section of fence where one of the jerseys had pushed through. She handed him the letter. He read it standing up. Then he looked at her and said, "Ma'am, what if they are right? What if someone gets sick?" Anna did not answer right away. She looked at the barn wall. There was a knot in the wood she had been looking at for 16 years. She said, "Come with me." They walked to the dairy room. She took the leather notebook off the nail. She opened it. She turned the pages slowly. Jacob saw the names. 14 children who had been told they could not drink milk. 6 adults with digestive problems their doctors could not fix. 12 families who could not afford to buy milk anywhere else. Anna closed the book. She said, "In 24 years, not one of these people got sick. Not one." She hung the book back on the nail. She said, "We are going to make sure there is no milk here when he arrives. Let me tell you about raw milk, because this is the key to everything." Anna understood that the USDA inspector did not. Milk, when it comes out of a cow, is not sterile. It contains bacteria. Some of that bacteria is harmful. Most of it is not. The harmful bacteria, Salmonella, Listeria, E. coli O157H7, thrive in milk that has been contaminated by feces, by dirty equipment, by careless handling. They grow fastest in milk that is warm and left standing. The helpful bacteria, Lactobacillus, Bifidobacterium, Streptococcus thermophilus, thrive in clean milk that is cooled quickly and kept cold. These bacteria do two things. First, they outcompete the harmful bacteria. They consume the sugars in the milk faster, lowering the pH, creating an environment where pathogens cannot grow. Second, they produce enzymes. Lactase, which breaks down lactose, lipase, which breaks down fat, protease, which breaks down protein. These enzymes make milk easier to digest. When milk is pasteurized, heated to 161 degrees Fahrenheit for 15 seconds, or 145 degrees for 30 minutes, both kinds of bacteria die. The harmful and the helpful. The enzymes die too. What remains is a liquid that will not spoil as quickly, but also will not digest as easily. Some people report that they cannot tolerate lactose in pasteurized milk because the enzyme that breaks down lactose is gone. Many of those same people report they can drink raw milk without symptoms, not because raw milk contains less lactose, because it contains the enzyme that digests it. Anna had observed this 14 times. 14 children whose parents said they were lactose intolerant. All 14 of them drank her milk. None of them got sick. She wrote their names in the leather book. This was her experience. It was not medical advice. It was what she had seen. The USDA did not test for enzymes. They tested for bacteria. If bacteria were present above a certain threshold, the milk was considered unsafe, regardless of whether anyone had ever gotten sick from it. Anna's milk had never made anyone sick. Not in 24 years. Not once. The USDA did not have a category for that. On the afternoon of March 13th, Samuel Lapp came to Anna's farm. He told her the inspector would arrive at 6 in the morning. He told her they would seize everything. All the milk, all the equipment. They would seal the room. She would not be allowed to enter it for 90 days. After that, she would have to apply for a permit to resume operations. The permit required a pasteurizer, a stainless steel tank, a heating element, a thermometer accurate to 1 degree, a cooling system. The equipment cost $42,000. The bank in Lancaster had offered her a loan. Anna had refused. She had $1,100 in her own account. She had never owed money to anyone. She would not start now. Samuel stood in the doorway of the dairy room and looked at the 4 ceramic crocks on the stone counter. He said, "What are you going to do?" Anna said, "I'm going to make sure there is nothing here for them to seize." It was 12:30 in the afternoon. Anna had 340 liters of milk in those 4 crocks. Some of it had been there for 18 hours. Some of it had been there for 6. All of it was in the process of culturing. The bacteria were working. The milk was thickening. In another 6 hours, it would be yogurt. Anna did not have 6 hours. She had 17 and a half. She sat down at the kitchen table. She took out a piece of paper. She wrote down numbers. 340 liters, 47 regular customers. Average purchase, 7.2 liters per week. Even if all of them came that afternoon, she would still have 200 liters left. She needed a buyer who could take everything at once. She looked at the numbers for a long time. Then she stood up. She walked to the phone shanty. The phone was not in the house. It was in a small wooden shed 30 feet from the back door. The Ordnung, the unwritten rules that governed plain life, permitted phones for business, but not inside the home. Anna opened the door. The phone was rotary dial, black, mounted on the wall. There was a list of numbers written in pencil on the wood beside it. She dialed the 4th number from the top. A woman answered. Anna said, "This is Anna Hochstetler. I need to speak to Amy." The woman said, "Hold on." 40 seconds passed. Then a different voice came on the line. "Amy Alexei." Anna said, "I have 340 liters. I need you to take all of it, tonight." There was a pause. Then Amy said, "I can take 200. Anna said, "I need you to take 340. Another pause. Then Amy said, "Let me make some calls." Amy Alexei was the chef and owner of Tallulah's Table, a restaurant in Philadelphia with 12 seats. She had been buying Anna's milk for 4 years. She used it to make cheese, fresh mozzarella, ricotta, fromage blanc. She had tried using pasteurized milk. It did not work the same way. The curds did not form as cleanly. The texture was grainy. She had asked other chefs why. One of them, a man who had trained in France, told her it was because pasteurized milk was dead. The bacteria that made cheese were gone. You could add them back in with a starter culture, but it was not the same. It was like trying to rebuild a forest by planting seeds in sterilized soil. Amy had started buying raw milk from Anna in 1999. She drove to Lancaster County every Saturday. She brought 12 half-gallon jars. She paid in cash. She never missed a week. When Anna called her on March 13, 2003, and said she needed to move 340 liters in one night, Amy understood that something had gone wrong. She did not ask what. She said, "Let me make some calls." Amy called 6 other chefs, all of them in Philadelphia. All of them had bought Anna's milk at some point, referred by Amy or by another chef. 2 of them said they could take 20 liters each. One said he could take 30. One said he could take 40. One said he could take 15. One said he could not take any, but he knew a baker who might. Amy called the baker. The baker said she could take 50 liters if Amy could deliver it by 8 in the morning. Amy said yes. She called Anna back. She said, "I can take 215 liters. Anna said, "That leaves me with 125. Amy said, "I will take those too. I will figure out what to do with them." Anna said, "When can you be here?" Amy said, "I am leaving now." Amy Alexei drove a 1996 Honda Civic. She left Philadelphia at 2:45 p.m. The drive to Lancaster County was 73 miles. Traffic was light. She arrived at Anna's farm at 4:35. The sun was low. The air was cold. Anna was waiting in the dairy room. The 4 crocks were still on the counter. Amy had brought 30 glass jars. Anna had another 60 jars on the shelf. They started filling them. Anna ladled the milk from the crocks into a stainless steel pitcher. Amy held the jars. Anna poured. They did not speak. The only sound was the milk hitting the glass and the clink of the lids being screwed on. Each jar held 3.8 liters. They filled 30 jars. Then they carried them outside in wooden crates. Amy's car could hold 30 jars if they removed the back seat. They removed the back seat. They loaded the crates. Amy said, "I will be back in 3 hours." She drove away. Anna went back into the dairy room. She filled 30 more jars. By the time Amy returned at 8 p.m., Anna had filled all 90 jars. 342 liters. Close enough. They loaded the second batch into the car. Amy said, "Where do you want me to take them?" Anna said, "Wherever you think they should go." Amy nodded. She did not ask anything else. She drove back to Philadelphia. She delivered 20 liters to the first chef at 10:30 p.m. She delivered 20 liters to the second chef at 11. She delivered 30 liters to the third chef at 11:45. She delivered 40 liters to the fourth chef at 12:30 a.m. She delivered 15 liters to the fifth chef at 1:15 a.m. Minus. She delivered 50 liters to the baker at 2 a.m. That was 175 liters. She still had 167 liters in her car. She kept 40 liters in her own walk-in cooler. The remaining 127 liters went to 6 more places: 2 small bistros in South Philadelphia, a bakery in Fishtown, a cheese shop in Reading Terminal Market, a farm-to-table restaurant in West Chester, a cafe in Kennett Square. She left between 15 and 25 liters at each location with a handwritten note. By the time she was finished, it was 4:30 in the morning. She had delivered or stored all 342 liters. She did not sleep. At 5:45 a.m., she took 1 half-gallon jar from her cooler. She got back in her car and drove to the cafe in Kennett Square. But before I tell you what happened next, you need to understand something about the year 1987. Because this is the year that proved what food safety had become. In that year, while Anna was milking 12 cows in Lancaster County, a commercial dairy in Fresno County, California, was milking 10,000. The Fresno dairy pooled milk from all 10,000 cows in a single tank. One cow had listeria. The bacteria spread through the entire tank. The milk was distributed to 6 states. 47 people died. The United States Department of Agriculture responded by issuing a regulation. The regulation required the pasteurization of all milk sold for human consumption across state lines. The regulation was written by people who had never milked a cow. It was written by people who had never operated a... It was written by people who assumed that all dairies operated the way the Fresno dairy operated: large, industrial, pooling milk from thousands of cows. The regulation did not distinguish between a 10,000-cow dairy and a 12-cow dairy. It did not distinguish between milk that was pooled and milk that was not. It did not distinguish between milk that was sold across state lines and milk that was sold within a single county. It treated all raw milk as equally dangerous. It assumed that pasteurization was the only solution. It did not consider that small dairies, operated carefully, with healthy cows and clean equipment, might not need pasteurization. It did not consider that pasteurization might destroy something valuable. It only considered the risk, not the benefit. The regulation became law. Thousands of small dairies closed, not because they were unsafe, because they could not afford the equipment required to comply. Anna's dairy would have closed too, except that she did not comply. She just kept milking the cows. Now let me go back and tell you about the Amish understanding of soil and milk. Because without it, what happened next makes no sense. The Amish do not see milk as a product. They see it as a continuation of the soil. A cow eats grass. The grass grows in soil. The soil is alive. It contains billions of microorganisms, bacteria, fungi, protozoa, nematodes. These organisms break down organic matter. They release nutrients. The grass absorbs the nutrients. The cow eats the grass. The nutrients move into the cow's blood. The blood moves into the udder. The udder produces milk. The milk contains the nutrients. It also contains bacteria, not the same bacteria that were in the soil, but bacteria that serve similar functions in a different environment. Bacteria that evolved to live in milk. Bacteria that help digest milk. This is not superstition. This is biology. The Amish have known it for 300 years, not because they studied it in a laboratory, because they observed it. They saw that cows grazing on healthy soil produced milk that did not spoil as quickly. They saw that children who drank that milk were healthier. They saw that the milk tasted different depending on what the cows ate. Clover made the milk sweeter. Alfalfa made it richer. Grass in the spring, when it was young and green, made the milk almost yellow with butterfat. They did not need a scientist to tell them why. They only needed to pay attention. Anna's cows grazed on 30 acres. The soil had been in her family since 1949. Her grandfather had never used chemical fertilizer. Her father had never used chemical fertilizer. Anna had never used chemical fertilizer. Every year they spread manure from the cows. Every year they planted clover. The clover fixed nitrogen in the soil. The nitrogen fed the grass. The grass fed the cows. The cows produced manure. The cycle continued. The soil got darker every year, richer. In 2003, you could dig down 6 inches and the soil was black. You could squeeze it in your hand and it would hold together. You could smell it and it smelled sweet, not rotten, sweet. That was how you knew it was alive. Anna's cows produced milk with a butterfat content of 5.2%. The average butterfat content of milk from a commercial dairy in 2003 was 3.6%. Anna's milk contained conjugated linoleic acid at a concentration of 12.4 milligrams per gram of fat. The average CLA concentration in commercial milk was 2.3 milligrams. According to some studies, CLA is a fatty acid that may help reduce inflammation, improve immune function, and lower the risk of heart disease. Anna did not know any of this in 2003. She did not need to. She knew that people who drank her milk felt better. That was enough. The USDA did not test for CLA. They did not test for butterfat content. They did not test for the presence of beneficial bacteria. They tested for the presence of harmful bacteria. If harmful bacteria were found, the milk was condemned. If harmful bacteria were not found, the milk was still condemned if it had not been pasteurized. The assumption was that harmful bacteria could be present even if they were not detected. The assumption was that pasteurization was the only way to be safe. The assumption was that raw milk was dangerous by definition. Anna had been selling raw milk for 24 years. In those 24 years, She had sold 442,000 liters. Not one person had ever reported getting sick. Not one. The USDA did not have a category for that. Let me pause here and ask you something. Have you ever been told that something you know to be safe, something you have done for years without a single problem, is illegal? Not because it hurt anyone, but because someone who has never done it decided it might? That is what Anna was facing. Not a law based on evidence, a law based on fear. Fear of what could happen, not what did happen. The USDA had decided that raw milk was dangerous because raw milk could contain harmful bacteria. They did not ask whether Anna's milk contained harmful bacteria. They did not test it. They did not need to. The law said all raw milk was dangerous. Therefore, Anna's milk was dangerous. Even though no one had ever gotten sick from it. Even though she had been selling it for 24 years. Even though her dairy room was cleaner than most commercial dairies. None of that mattered. The law was the law. 3 weeks after the inspection, Anna received a letter. It said that her dairy operation had been found in compliance as of March 14, 2003. It said that if she wished to resume selling milk, she would need to apply for a Grade A permit. The permit required a pasteurizer. It required stainless steel tanks. It required a concrete floor with a drain that met specific dimensions. It required walls that could be washed with a high-pressure hose. It required lighting that met a minimum lumens per square foot standard. It required a separate room for bottling. It required a separate room for storage. It required a water heater capable of producing 180-degree water on demand. The total cost of the renovations was estimated at $67,000. The cost of the equipment was estimated at $42,000. The total was $109,000. Anna had $1,100 in the bank. She read the letter twice. Then she folded it and put it in the drawer with the other letters. She did not apply for a permit. For 6 months, Anna did not sell milk. She still milked the cows, 12 jerseys, 4 gallons per cow per day. 48 gallons total. She used 6 gallons for her family. The other 42 gallons she gave away. Not to her old customers, to the GMA. She brought it to families who needed it. Families with new babies. Families with sick children. Families who could not afford to buy milk. She did not charge anything. She did not keep a record. She just gave it. By September of 2003, she had given away more than 7,000 liters. No one got sick. No one complained. No one reported her. The USDA did not come back. In October of 2003, something unexpected happened. Amy Alexi received a phone call from a man she had never met. His name was Michael Chen. He was a food writer for Philadelphia Magazine. He was working on an article about artisan cheesemakers in the city. Someone had told him that the best mozzarella in Philadelphia came from Tallulah's table. He wanted to know where Amy sourced her milk. Amy told him she could not say. He asked why. She said, "Because the person who supplies it does not want attention." He said, "I understand, but I would like to meet them, just to talk, off the record." Amy said no. He called back 3 times. Each time, Amy said no. The 4th time he called, he said something different. He said, "My daughter has Crohn's disease. She is 12 years old. She weighs 73 pounds. Her doctor told us to avoid all dairy. But I have been reading about raw milk. I think it might help her. I am not asking for an interview. I am asking for help." Amy was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "Let me make a call." Amy sent Anna a letter. She wrote that she had a customer who wanted to buy her milk. She wrote that his name was not Michael Chen, it was Tom. She wrote that he owned a cafe, not a magazine. She wrote that his daughter had Crohn's disease and could not digest pasteurized milk. She wrote that if Anna was willing to talk to him, he would drive to Lancaster County on Saturday morning. Anna read the letter. She thought about it for 2 days. Then she walked to the phone shanty. She called Amy. She said, "Tell him to come on Saturday." Tom came on Saturday. He brought his daughter. Her name was Emily. She was 12 years old. She weighed 73 pounds. She should have weighed 90. She had been sick for 2 years. Her doctor had tried 6 different medications. None of them worked. Tom had read about raw milk on a forum for parents of children with inflammatory bowel disease. He had read that some children who could not tolerate pasteurized milk could tolerate raw milk. He had read that the enzymes in raw milk helped digest protein and fat. He did not know if it was true. He wanted to try. Anna looked at Emily. Emily looked at the floor. Anna said, "Come with me." They walked to the dairy room. Anna took a quart jar from the shelf. She filled it from the pitcher. She handed it to Emily. She said, "Drink half of it now. If you feel fine in 2 hours, drink the other half tomorrow. If you do not feel fine, do not drink any more." Emily drank half the jar. She felt fine. Emily came back the next week. She felt fine. Anna gave her a quart jar. Emily drank half of it that day. She felt fine. She drank the other half the next day. She felt fine. She came back the following week. Anna gave her 2 quart jars. Emily drank both of them. She felt fine. After 4 weeks, Emily had gained 3 pounds. After 8 weeks, she had gained 7 pounds. After 12 weeks, her doctor reduced her medication. After 6 months, her doctor took her off medication entirely. This was Emily's experience. It was not medical advice. It was what happened to her. She continued drinking Anna's milk, 2 quarts per week. She did not have another flare-up for 4 years. Tom told other people. Other people sent letters to Anna. Anna said no to most of them. She said yes to a few. By the end of 2004, she was selling milk again. Not 42 gallons per week, 12 gallons per week. Only to people who needed it. People with Crohn's disease. People with ulcerative colitis. People with eczema. People who could not digest pasteurized milk. She did not advertise. She did not put up a sign. She did not have a website. She just sold milk to people who needed it. She wrote their names in the leather notebook. By 2010, there were 47 names in that book. The USDA did not come back. Not in 2004, not in 2005, not in 2010. Maybe they decided she was not worth the trouble. Maybe they decided that 12 gallons per week was not enough to matter. Maybe someone in the office looked at her file and saw that she had been selling milk for 24 years without a single reported illness, and decided that the law did not make sense in her case? I do not know. Anna did not know either. She did not ask. She just kept milking the cows. In 2018, Anna Hochstetler stopped selling milk. Not because the USDA shut her down, because she was 62 years old and her hands hurt. Arthritis. She could not grip the milking stool anymore. She could not carry the buckets. Jacob offered to take over. She said no. She said the cows were tired too. She sold 11 of the jerseys to another Amish farmer in Chester County. She kept one, the oldest one, a cow named Molly. Molly was 16 years old. Anna milked her by hand every morning, not for sale, just for her family. Molly produced 2 gallons per day. Anna used 1 gallon. She gave the other gallon to her grandchildren, 3 of them. They drank it every day. None of them ever had an ear infection. None of them ever had eczema. None of them were ever lactose intolerant. Anna did not know if that was because of the milk. She did not need to. She just knew they were healthy. The leather notebook is still hanging on the nail in the dairy room. It has 47 names in it. 47 people who needed milk and could not get it anywhere else. 47 people who drank Anna's milk and got better. The USDA never tested any of them. They never asked them if they got sick. They never asked them if they got better. They only asked if the milk had been pasteurized. It had not. Therefore, it was illegal. Therefore, it was dangerous. The fact that no one ever got sick did not matter. The fact that some people got better did not matter. The law was the law. Asking David Klein to question USDA regulations was like asking a carpenter to endorse buildings without nails. His career, his pension, his identity as an inspector, all of it depended on the assumption that the rules he enforced were written by people who knew better than the people being inspected. He was not a bad man. He was a man doing his job. The problem was not David Klein. The problem was that the job he was doing was based on a rule that assumed all small dairies were as dangerous as the largest industrial dairy that had ever failed. That assumption was wrong. But the law did not care. Sometimes the most dangerous thing you can do is follow a rule that was written for someone else. Sometimes the safest thing you can do is trust a woman who has been doing the same thing the same way for 24 years without a single person getting sick. And sometimes a leather notebook on a nail holds more truth than 1,000 pages of federal regulations. Anna sold the last jar of milk on the night of March 13, 2003. Every jar went to someone who needed it. The inspector arrived at dawn. The room was empty. The law. This story is for educational and entertainment purposes only. It is not medical advice. Consult your doctor before making dietary changes. If someone in your family ever taught you that the safest food is not always the food that comes with the most rules, if they showed you that paying attention matters more than following instructions written by people who have never done what you do, tell me about them in the comments. This is Old Tractor Stories.